Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Thanks for joining me. Today in this video, we're going to discuss the domestic terrorism threats that we're facing here in the United States ahead of the election, with the left bringing out all of the crazy that they utilized in the Black Lives Matter riots to right now tearing down college campuses, intimidating people, and ultimately bleeding into red states with their tactics and propaganda. This week in the state of Tennessee, there was an event that happened, and I've already contacted not only the event coordinator and the sponsors of the event to get the straight story, but also I attempted to contact the other parties who ultimately are responsible for denying civil rights and freedom of expression to conservative and Bible-believing groups. Let me give you the breakdown. So this is what happened in the state of Tennessee, which is a red state, which is the Bible Belt. We have unfortunately had a lot of people come in here from California, from New York, and other places bringing their toxic ideology. But not only that, the grassroots organization and the networking that the left has been utilizing to stir up trouble on these different campuses and ultimately to create chaos, become the authors of chaos. This is coming into large cities and it's coming into red states. And it happened this week, and I want to share this with you. So in Nashville this coming week, there's scheduled to be an event, and this Israel summit was going to be hosting people of various different spectrums of belief, Christians, Jews, somewhere in between, even people who don't even necessarily have a belief framework, but who believe in the right of the Jewish people to be free in their own state to defend themselves. And so this event was happening in Nashville. Check this out. The Israel summit was scheduled to happen at the Sonesta Hotel. The Sonesta Hotel, of course, having signed contracts with them, is bound to execute on those contracts. The next thing that happened was these agitators and leftist groups called and apparently made it so difficult for the hotel to conduct their business that ultimately they backed out. So they backed out. The hotel said that it was due to credible threats of violence that they were not able to execute this contract, and they invoked the force majeure clause of the contract. Incorrectly, I might add. The Nashville Police Department, who was consulted regarding this event and the quote-unquote threats, said very clearly that they had not advised the hotel in any way, shape, or form to cancel this event, and that furthermore, they were equipped and ready and willing to provide security for the event, of course, so that people could exercise their constitutional rights freely, as we are supposed to in the United States. So after this, the Israel event and all of the hundreds of people who had signed up to come are sitting here like, well, now what do we do? So the long story short was these little leftist and domestic terrorist groups called and threatened, ultimately conspired to violate the civil rights of these groups, these Americans who were coming from across the Bible-believing spectrum, but ultimately who are all conservative, to come and gather and to peaceably assemble and to share their faith. This is a severe problem. This is a 1938 moment. I asked Josh Waller when I spoke to him on the phone earlier today, I asked him, what is your takeaway from this? What is the message that you really want people to understand about what happened to you? And his message for us was, this is a 1938 moment. This group had a hotel not only cave to terrorist tactics, but also conspire within themselves to deny the civil rights of this group to peaceably assemble and to share their beliefs and faith. So what do you think the group did next? They reached out to various different people and said, hey, we still want to have this event. We'll have it in a flippin' parking lot if we have to. Nobody is going to silence us, and nobody is going to take away our rights, and certainly nobody is going to deny us the ability to exercise our faith as we see fit. The next thing that happened was local Tennesseans stood up. People of faith and across the Bible-believing spectrum stood up and said, nope, we're still with you. So Dave Ramsey stepped up and said, fine, if they're going to do what they're going to do, y'all can come over to my place, despite the fact that the Sonesta Hotel caved. Dave Ramsey stood up, private citizens stood up to do the right thing and say, nope, you're not going to intimidate us. You're not going to come into the state of Tennessee and utilize your hostage-taking tactics to silence us and to shut us down. You don't get to dictate the terms of how we express ourselves. You don't dictate the terms of how we live freely in this country. So ultimately, we're going to see more and more of this as the days go by and as we go forward into the election more. This radical leftist agenda now is conspiring to deny people their civil rights. It's conspiring to destroy the Constitution. And ultimately, in the words of Sir Winston Churchill, to these groups of people, democracy is a tool to be used and afterwards broken. They get in to their little groups. They utilize the banner of free speech to ultimately coalesce, to take their power and to throw it on people to silence their political opposition. That's how this works. And if we tolerate this, it will only grow, it will only fester. So, many people in Tennessee and from around the surrounding areas are coming. The summit is indeed happening. It's not going to be shut down. It's not going to be silenced from little terrorists running around with pink, purple, blue hair who decide that they ultimately have more in common with genocidal terrorist organizations that brutalize and rape women and destroy families and burn villages down and push gays off roofs. They ultimately decided that they're the ones who they ultimately have more in common with than people in the United States. And so those groups, we don't capitulate to them. We don't bow to them. We push back. And the way that we push back is to continue going on with our lives and exercising our freedom here in the United States. The Israel Summit is on. Dave Ramsey is hosting it, and you can sign up at the website that I have linked in the description box below. It'll be a wonderful event. Several of my friends are going to be speaking at the event, and I intend to be there. So friends, if you want to push back against the left, if you want to exercise your freedom of speech and your freedom of faith, then I can't think of any better way possible to stick it to them than to show up with bells on. There's a wonderful Bible verse and says, when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will raise up a banner against him. That is exactly how we fight the left. When they come at us with all their screaming and whining and also their threats and intimidation, we stand in faith and in firmness of resolve. We will not capitulate to terrorism. We will not capitulate to threats. Friends, just because you may not care about these particular issues, you may not care about the whole Israel-Palestine thing, that doesn't matter. What does matter is that these leftist terrorist groups have morphed into a new message that gives them their power. And so they are utilizing this to hold hostage people here in the United States. This is really a 1938 moment. Are we going to yield to threats of terrorism? Are we going to bend down and bow down and allow these people to take, are we going to allow these crazed people who have taken hostage college campuses to take hostage the rest of the country to come into red states and tell us what to do? Oh, no, 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 no. That ain't how we roll. It's time for men and women who fear God to stand up, and to stand up firmly and not allow themselves to be intimidated, to be silenced, to be shoved into a corner and told you just sit down and shut up and don't do your thing. Absolutely not. These people have caused enough trouble here in the United States. The time has come for us to stand up and to exert ourselves and to firmly rely upon God and to move forward into this future solidly. I hope the video is helpful for y'all today. If you did enjoy it, I hope you'll subscribe to me here on YouTube, Patriot Nurse. Also, guys, this event needs to be widely attended. From several hundred people, it needs to be up to several thousand people. This needs to go, and it needs to go not only for the purposes of which it was originally organized, to support Bible-believing people and their understanding of Scripture's application today, but number two, when the left comes in to silence people, we need to shove them back so hard that they really regret having messed with us. And then we'll take our country back. But as long as we sit idly by, twiddling our thumbs on the couch, happily binge-watching Netflix, nothing is going to happen. Only action takes this forward. Strength is what these people respect. And fear. Better to be feared at this point by people than to coexist with them. They are incapable of coexisting. They don't get along well with others. These are the kids on the playground that never played well with others. And then they grow up to be little snotty-nosed brats who ultimately got a little taste of power, and now they're going to push it. If you want to see your rights eroded seriously, and if you want to see your freedom evaporate, sit by and do nothing. But that's not how we roll. That's certainly not how we roll in the state of Tennessee. I'll be there. I hope to see you there, and I hope that you'll join us for this conference, if for no other reason than to put the left in their place. Hope the video was helpful for y'all. Have a very blessed weekend. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see y'all later. Mwah! Bye.